think is why you held on to those documents when you knew the federal government was seeking them and then had given you a subpoena to return them.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Can I talk?
Yeah, what's the
mind?
answer?
Do you mind?
I would like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
It's very simple to... You're a nasty person, I'll tell you.
So true. Sorry to keep you waiting, folks. Complicated business. We're in LA trying to do the remote stream. But tonight on the Vince Dao Show, we will be giving you the first kind of post-town hall thoughts, kind of breaking down really quickly the Trump town hall. Also, George Santos arrested up in New York. We have to talk about that. And Bernie Sanders sends out one of the dumbest tweets of all time that we also have to respond to. That's tonight on the Vince Dao Show. Don't go anywhere. And we are live tonight. I think we are live. Okay, sorry, I know we're late. The stream's probably going to be a lot of chaos because we got, we're remote streaming. This is on my laptop. It is very difficult. Are we even live? I'm looking. I think we're live. Okay, we are live tonight from Los Angeles, California. Yeah, that's right. Like I said in previous shows, but if you do not tune into those, I'm visiting the parents. I'm home for a few days. And so, we're going to be doing this remote stream for a couple days. I will say again, it is quite hard to do on the laptop. It's we're trying to figure out the tech. But we are here, ladies and gentlemen. Look, at least I did something. I set up the green screen. That's pretty impressive, isn't it? Huh? Look at the tech there. All right, anyways, guys, before we begin, everyone be sure to leave a like on the stream and subscribe if you are new. And if you would like to super chat, the poorly produced technical issues will probably be a very rampant show. Feel free to do so here on YouTube or on Streamlabs. It is greatly appreciated. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we got a lot to talk about tonight, so I don't want to keep you too long. Just again, if you wonder why everything looks different, why the audio sucks, why I'm all over the place, we are streaming remotely from LA. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, regardless of what time we start, regardless of whether we are in Pacific time, Eastern time, interrupted by a Trump town hall, start time keeps moving around, you know what hour it still is? It is the hour of Dao. So let's get into the show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Well, let me see. We got it. Okay. All right. The tech's working. All right. Very good, guys. So to start off tonight, obviously, we come off the heels, and the reason why we're doing the show later is because we just came off of that CNN Trump Town Hall with Caitlin Collins, all right? And I'm sure many of you guys have watched it, but if you have not, I will just summarize it for you in one single sentence. It was kind of a mess. I think it was a good mess for Donald Trump, but regardless, the entire thing is a mess, okay? And so I was going to react to it live, but I don't know, DMCA, whatever. I will show you some clips, but I do want to kind of give the summary, the rundown for those people who do not see it. So we start off this town hall, and for about the first 30 minutes, Caitlin Collins, CNN reporter, you may remember her back from the Trump days, the whole time is just like, January 6th, election stuff, Mr. Trump, So immediately, and there's a purpose for this, right? Instead of going in and talking about actual substantive issues, which we really break down, it was only about half an hour of the debate, okay? So the first half hour, she won't shut up about election, January 6th, Mr. Trump, Mr. Trump. And then, there's another half hour where they actually have a decent talk about substantive issues. And then the last 10 or 20 so minutes, it's you're being investigated, you're Mr. Trump. So, let me start off by saying this to Caitlin Collins, to CNN. Not that you guys necessarily care what I have to say, but, it's called a town hall, okay? So the reason it is called a town hall is because the town is supposed to come to the hall and ask the questions, okay, Caitlin Collins, you understand this? It is not a CNN hall. It is not the Caitlin Collins hall. The purpose of a town hall is not for the journalist to go and just debate the candidate. Okay, that's not what it is. It's not a debate between Caitlin Collins and Donald Trump. It's not supposed to be. It's actually supposed to be a thing where the voters go and ask the questions. And we got about a couple voters ask the questions for like one single sentence, but the vast majority of the time, it's just Caitlin Collins. She's not even really asking questions. She's just straight up debating that, and that's what's basically going on here, okay? So the first entire half hour of this debate, this is all it is, and this one clip basically sums it up right here. This, for you, basically is the first half hour of the debate. I kid you not.
The judge wouldn't allow us to put that in. Her dog or her cat was named Vagina. The judge wouldn't allow to put that in. All of these things. But with her, they could put in anything. Access Hollywood.
You might think, oh, you're joking about that, Vince. No, come on. It wasn't real. No, I'm serious. That was about the entire first half of this debate, okay? It's entire first half. Now, what I will say, and what we'll get into in a second here, is that I thought, especially the first half, I mean, it's really is a draw. You're asking a lot of gotcha questions on Trump. He's sort of set up in a hard position. Immediately, they just go off and say, hey, election this, January 6th that. But what I will say is I actually thought in the second half, when they started to talk a little bit more issues, and when Trump started to come more into his own, and when Caitlin Collins just started to come off more and more annoying, I actually thought the second half of the town hall went quite well for Donald Trump. But that first half hour or so, I'm not even necessarily saying I think Donald Trump lost, quote unquote. I don't think that would be accurate. But what does it do? Immediately muddies the waters, right? It muddies the waters. Immediately, instead of making this a substantive town hall, it's, hey, this and that, you know what I mean? Just dragging his name through the mud. And I guess that's what's to be expected here. But, you know, just to point that out, the first entire half hour of this thing is just Caitlin Collins yelling at him about nonsense, and that's what it is. Now, with that said, half an hour in, they start talking about the actual political issues, which we'll bring up here, and that's why I have Twitter pulled up here. And I actually thought Donald Trump answered a lot of these questions quite well. And honestly, I think in many ways, this dynamic is a dynamic he needs to pursue more often in the future, because I think when it comes to his speeches, right, that's what Donald Trump's historically been known for. It's those big, grand, amazing speeches. But let's be honest, right? And we all know this. I mean, I know some people might get mad, a handful, but most people would agree, right? Trump is older now. Okay, he doesn't have the energy he used to. And I know the people who don't want him to be the nominee would bring that up as a red flag, but I think we all kind of agree to an extent. He just does not have the same level of energy. I don't think he's lost his mind by any stretch. I think he's still the same guy, but just, you know, a little bit older. And so because of that, you could make the argument, and I think if you watch some Trump speeches lately, arguably you could say they're kind of boring. At least just lower energy than they used to be. But I think this format right here, I've seemed to notice that Trump really thrives in. When he's being asked questions by other people, when he's responding to other people. This is not, you know, there's a rally a few months ago that he actually answered questions at. I think this is a good format. I think this is a good dynamic for Trump. And I thought he did pretty decently in this position. I think he needs to do that more often. Now, with that said, I have Twitter open here. We can react to some of the actual clips of Trump answering these questions in the town hall, so I can give you the kind of summary of how this all went here. So here, let me open Twitter here. I liked all the important clips that I was a fan of. So obviously, there's the one you saw in the beginning, and like I said, this basically sums up the town hall itself right here. This one clip right here.
I think is why you held on to those documents when you knew the federal government was seeking them and then had given you a subpoena to return them.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Can I talk?
Yeah, what's the answer?
Do you mind?
I would like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
It's very simple to, you're a nasty person, I'll tell you.
I think is why you held on to those documents when you knew the federal government.
So, you know, that right there, just vintage Donald Trump. Vintage Donald Trump, you know? That reminds me 2016. It's the same energy of, come on, try getting it out. Try getting it out, right? This is a classic clip. This is going to be a meme clip for a long time. I think this is very good. And it also summarizes, and the reason why I think it's just such a huge L, and I'll get to your super chats in a second, guys, so keep sending them in. I'll read them in a second. But part of the reason I think is just such a massive L, such a massive optical disaster for CNN is, to your average person who might be watching that doesn't even like Donald Trump necessarily, which does exist. You know, there's a lot of independents that are not the biggest fans of him. Still, they have to watch something like this, and, you know, all you see is this annoying woman on CNN constantly interrupting, not even giving him a chance to speak, constantly, as you can tell, just asking bad faith questions, won't let him speak, all this stuff. And in many ways, what it's actually doing is making a bigger martyr of Donald Trump than he already is becoming, and so this is the effects we've seen the last few months. He was actually struggling. At the beginning of the year, he was struggling a little bit in the polls. It was kind of neck and neck with DeSantis. And then what happens, right? The left just throws him a bone, and then you have the indictment. That made his approval rating go up. And even his approval rating's gone up after this phony defamation case. And then here you have the same thing, right? Even for the independents out there that are not the biggest fans of Donald Trump, they look at a video like this, they look at a dynamic like this and think, well, I feel kind of bad. I wish they would actually let him speak. And so that, that's his clip right here. That basically sums it up. Again, that's classic vintage Donald Trump, okay? But anyways, here we go. We get to some of the issues here. This was part of his response to the abortion question, which I'll play. It's only 13 seconds, but I'll kind of summarize for you what he said about abortion and why I actually thought that was a pretty masterful answer from a political perspective. But first, let me just play the 13 seconds I have here.
People that will kill a baby in the 9th month or the 8th month or the 7th month or after the baby is born, they're the radicals, not the pro-life.
I just want to give you...
So, obviously it's going to come up that Caitlin Collins tries to ask him about abortion. And I thought that the way he answered the whole kind of abortion question was very tactical and very good from a political perspective, right? So on one hand, he did not alienate the pro-lifers. He did not go out and say anything that would actively make pro-lifers upset. But at the same time, he navigated it in a way that, also at the same time seems more politically moderate, if that makes sense, right? So they go out there and immediately what does he do? He turns the abortion issue on its head, which is masterful, right? And instead of defending the pro-life position actively, instead what he does is kind of flips it on his head and says, well, look at the pro-choice side. And this is true. They want 9-month abortion. They are radicals. They are the radical ones, not us, right? From a political perspective, I think that's smart because all that we have heard about pro-lifers and obviously I'm 100% pro-life, but all that you hear in moderate, independent, suburban America is the pro-lifers are the crazy radical ones, this and that. Well, what does Donald Trump say? Immediately he says, no, it's not the pro-lifers that are radical. It is the pro-choicers that are radical. And one of the talking points he brings up here actually is that with the overturning of Roe v. Wade, that gave pro-lifers something to negotiate with, a type of negotiating tool that they did not have before, right? He sort of brings that up. So he kind of paints his image where it's the pro-choice, and by the way, I think that's pretty accurate, but he paints his image where it's the pro-choicers constantly cramming down radical ideas on the pro-lifers, sets up the pro-lifers to kind of be the victims in this story. And like I said, I think it's very masterful from a political perspective. They also ask him, if brought to your desk, would you sign a 15, not a 15 week, just would you sign a federal ban on abortion? And he kind of dodges the question. He doesn't say yes or no. He says, I'm going to do what's best for the country, right? Which, obviously you might look at that politician answer. He should just be honest, whatever. But also I would say, like I said, I think that on this abortion issue, that's probably the best way from an electoral perspective for a Republican to approach it, right? Is kind of just say enough, don't say too much, right? Because if you go out there and say, yes, I will, suburban moderate America is not going to like that. But if you go out and say, no, if you got to say, no, I won't, that's not a pro-life position. And so I think the best way politically on a national level for Republicans to approach the issue of abortion is basically to be like Donald Trump, right? We can legislate, we can make policy that is completely conservative and 100% pro-life, but simultaneously, we don't even have to make that the focus of the campaign, right? We can even turn this issue on its head and say, actually, it's the pro-choicers that are the radical ones. Don't look over here, look over there. It's very tactical politics. I thought Donald Trump actually navigated this issue quite well. And we got a $10 super chat from Burgundy Blue. I know we got some earlier. Let me get through this whole coverage first, and then we'll answer the super chats. But like I said, I'm keeping track of them, so don't worry, guys. All right, so that was the abortion issue. Like I said, I thought he handled this quite well because really, I mean, we know it's a hard issue to navigate for Republicans. It's kind of a political landmine. We understand that, right? But he didn't say anything that alienated pro-lifers, which he has said in the past, and I didn't like that. he did not alienate the pro-lifers, which was good, but he also did not get that soundbite of him saying anything super radical that can be used in a campaign ad to appeal to like suburban moderates. So like I said, I think from a political perspective, and you might get mad at me even for saying, well, he should just be 100% principled about this. I understand that, not disagreeing. I'm just saying that from a political perspective, in terms of trying to win this election while also standing for pro-life values, I think this is the right way electorally to navigate the issue. So that was the abortion question here. Here you have this one. I mean, this one was not anything particularly all that crazy, but this college Republicans member kind of grills him on the bump stock thing and says, why did you ban bump stocks? Are you going to protect the Second Amendment? Here's him just saying he's going to protect the Second Amendment.
St. Anselm, he's a member of college Republicans. He's an undeclared voter right now. He supported you in 2020. Bobby, what's your question for President Trump?
Hi, thank you for coming. This is a bit of a pivot, but with gun violence and mass shootings in the news cycle recently, I'm worried that state governments and the federal government are going to act to repress gun rights. Under your administration, you instructed the Department of Justice and the ATF to ban bump stocks. If elected president again, how would you act not only to defend our Second Amendment rights, but to restore rights that have been taken from us, such as, by example, recently the ATF's ruling on the pistol stabilizing braces?
Yeah, as you know, the bump stocks are actually a very unimportant thing. And NRA, I went with them, and they said it doesn't mean anything. Or actually, all they do is teach you how to shoot very inaccurately. So we did that. There's been nobody that's protected the Second Amendment, as you know, like I have. I protected it through thick and thin, not easy to do. But we have a very big mental health problem in this country. And again, it's not the gun that pulls the trigger. It's the person that pulls the trigger. And we have to protect our Second Amendment. We have to protect our Second Amendment.
So, you know, pretty generic answer, though, but I did think it was good. Shout out to this kid. I did think it was good. I think someone ought to ask him about a question like that. Like, hey, what about bump stocks? Are you going to protect the Second Amendment? It is important. I think it is good for Donald Trump that he kind of come to grips or be confronted with at least some of the mistakes, quote unquote, that he made in his first term. And, you know, honestly, if you were to ask me, I think deep down he does see it as a mistake. I don't think it would happen again. Right? I think if there are mass shootings, which there are always mass shootings, but if there's something like that happens again under his next presidency, if he ends up being the next president, which hopefully he does, right? Hopefully freaking, you know, the character in the White House right now does not win a second term. I'm personally, I don't really think that Trump would cave to the gun mob ever again, right? 2018, 2019 or so, I think what you saw after Parkland, after Las Vegas, all that stuff, there was sort of the Republican mistake. Rick Scott, too. Rick Scott, governor of Florida at the time, he passed a sort of stupid gun control bill, all this stuff. And I think that came to such whiplash so much in their face. It did not gain any... It did not improve their support. It did not improve support of Republicans at all among anti-gun people, but it did piss off a lot of people. It pissed off a lot of, you know, pro-gun people. Honestly, I don't think it's a mistake that, you know, Donald Trump will make again, and I'm pretty convinced of that. So then that was the Second Amendment part. I just thought it was good that someone asked him about it. Here's the iconic talking about the...
The judge wouldn't allow us to put that in. Her dog or her cat was named Vagina. The judge wouldn't allow to put that in. All of these things. But with her, they could put in anything. Access, Hollywood. The judge would...
Oh, I mean, there you have it. Besides the clips I have here, the truth of the matter is there was not a lot of substantive debate at all whatsoever in this town hall, right? There are two other issues I don't have pulled up here on Twitter, but he was asked about Russia and Ukraine. He gave a very good answer, an answer I 100% agree with. He goes out there and says, well, look, and when it comes to the issue of aid and defense, you know, because he also understands to an extent, well, there are people out there who don't really like Russia, but what he goes out there and says, why isn't Europe dealing with this, right? And so and that's always been his thing, and that's sort of what he ran on 2016 too. It's like, why are we the ones always funding and taking care of the rest of the world? And so he kind of brings that up. And then what he says that was kind of, I guess, monumental, kind of groundbreaking. He says day one he's going to negotiate a peace deal there, which I think we absolutely need, right? We need a reasonable peace deal in Russia and Ukraine that, you know, adequately satisfies both sides. And I know the liberals, Caitlin Collins did it. You know, they always do it whenever I bring this up and say, hey, we do actually need some type of mutual agreement in Ukraine and just end the bloodshed. They always, so you want Russia to win? So you want Putin to win? It's like, come on, let's actually be realistic about the situation. The idea that Zelensky, no matter how good Ukraine is fighting, is going to be able to drive Russia back to its pre-2014 borders. And honestly, I take it a step further than that. The idea that in the end, victory is not in some degree inevitable for Russia. I mean, let's be honest. Does anyone really believe that that is not the case? We know that with enough time, with enough bloodshed, with enough suffering, no matter how much money we give to Ukraine, which obviously is a lot, how much arms we give them, at the end of the day, if Russia wants to win this war, they're going to win this war, right? And so, my stance is you can either try to figure out something now that might actually be a decent agreement for Ukraine. Because to Ukraine's credit, I will give them credit on this. The idea when Russia first invaded was that they're going to take over this whole country in the span of weeks. And that's not what happened. Actually, the Ukrainians put up a pretty good fight. And, the war is basically at a stalemate now. And so, in my opinion, all you're basically doing at this point over inches of territory is perpetuating more bloodshed, right? More people are going to die. And for what? So that Joe Biden can go out there and say, we're not going to stop until Putin is defeated. Well, what does that mean? How many lives is that going to cost? It's ridiculous. It's genocidal, frankly. And that's what I'll say. I think anyone who looks at Donald Trump saying, day one, we want peace in Ukraine, anyone who looks at that and thinks that's the wrong answer, actually, we should not pursue peace in Ukraine. Like I said, in my opinion, genocidal, absolute maniac. Trump is absolutely right there. And, I think you'd be surprised how many Americans agree with that, right? I think you'd be surprised. Because there's such a mutual consensus. Oh, Putin is an evil dictator. We need to defeat him at all costs. But honestly, if you go and ask the average American, I'm curious to know, do you think they really believe that? I don't think they do. Now, I don't think the average American out there loves Vladimir Putin or loves Russia, right? Obviously, the Cold War and the memory of Russia is still in the minds of a lot of Americans, and, Putin in the Western media is a very demonized figure. So I'm not going out there and saying that I think if Trump were just directly to say, let Ukraine fall, would that be popular with a lot of Americans? No. But I think what is popular with Americans is the idea of peace. The idea of peace and kind of just the acknowledgement of reality that this is not really our fight and we might as well just try to broker some type of peace and call it a day. I think that's the moderate answer. I think that's the reasonable thing to say. And I think that that's actually going to resonate with a lot of Americans. So there was that. They talked a little bit about Title 42, which obviously we know immigration is going to be a winning issue for Trump. It always has been. But with that said, that basically sums up the summary of the CNN Town Hall. And you might think, it's kind of short. We glanced over a few issues here for a few minutes. But I kid you not, besides that, it's just Caitlin Collins screaming and being an annoying woman for about an hour and 10 minutes. That's really all there was to it, okay? And so, did we learn a whole lot watching that town hall? Probably not. At the same time, do I think it made Trump probably look good? A little bit from that martyrdom effect, right? That martyrdom effect that usually helps Trump. I think the answer is probably yes. That seems to be the consensus of most people in our sphere in conservative media. The whole thing kind of made Trump look good. And also, here's the thing: Trump thrives when there is a bitter adversary, a bitter, annoying adversary for him to go up against, right? And that was kind of his problem with Biden in 2020. Biden is, mentally deficient, senile. But because of that, he's not just this annoying, threatening figure that Trump can just go and bulldoze, if that makes sense, right? But Hillary Clinton, totally annoying girl boss, just pretentious. Caitlin Collins there, very similar energy. And if I were to say one thing that reminded me of, it really reminded me of Trump versus Hillary. It's like watching the same thing over again. Or Trump versus that NBC reporter at his first interview back in 2015. And so honestly, I think if Trump does more of these, more debating stupid liberal journalists and kind of make that dynamic and show how often they cut him off, don't let him talk, all this stuff, I think that might be Trump's best campaign strategy, right? He needs to kind of have an adversary, an annoying enemy that no one likes to be up against. Caitlin Collins provided that tonight. Total L for CNN. Embarrassment for CNN, which we expected. Okay, it's the cringe nerd network. Common CNN L. And, I thought that made Donald Trump look a lot better. Now, on the contrast, I would like to say, it would be nice to see Joe Biden go up against Tucker Carlson or even Sean Hannity. Honestly, just anyone in the right-wing media sphere. That's never going to happen. It will be interesting to see. I would have to imagine, inevitably, when Ron DeSantis does tip his hat in the race, which again, we've said this for a long time. I virtually guarantee is going to happen. It's going to be very interesting to see how Ron DeSantis does in that situation, because I think it really is actually something that Ron's never really dealt with, is a situation like that. And you might say, well, what about the reporters in Florida? But the thing is, those local state reporters are not on the same level of crazy or nasty like the national CNN reporters. And so that's not me saying that Ron DeSantis would totally blunder the situation. I don't know. That remains to be seen. But, that should be really a litmus test there for all the Republican candidates. Can you go out there and handle that situation? I thought Donald Trump, in his own way, handled that quite well. So with that said, let's go and let's check these super chats. I know we got quite a few while I was talking. So as usual, if you guys want to support this show, feel free to, send in a super chat and I will read questions or comments you want read and answered. Feel free to super chat the show. I will go and check them out here. But anyways, here we go. Enclave Nationalist for $5 says, my English teacher says that white people should be thrown in prison for saying blank. Thank you for the $5, Enclave Nationalist. Well, obviously, I would say First Amendment. But then on the flip side, to kind of display the bias or standard there, if that's the case, okay, would she say that in the reverse, right? Because why is it any more okay to use blank against a different group or towards a white person? And so, but yeah, thank you for the $5, Enclave Nationalist. I appreciate it. And that kind of ties back to the discussion we had the other night about, the way society treats it. Dollar for $5. Thank you very much. Says, told a kid that being hung like a horse means hungry. Got a good laugh out of that. Good news. My CFI said I am ready to solo. Well, there you go. Dollar for $. Thank you for the $5. And yeah, you're ready to fly. Ready to fly, okay? You can't do any worse than the airline pilot I had today, okay? I was flying, I just got in today, and I'll tell you the whole story there, okay? Total mess. I'll let you guys know in a second. I wanted to get to the Trump Town Hall stuff first. But, the landing today, both my pilots, I had a layover, both my pilots, neither of them could stick the landing. Two of the roughest landings I've ever had in my life, okay? So dollar for $, you can't be any worse. It can't be any worse. So I say put him in the sky. Put our boy dollar for $, in the sky. Thank you for the $5. Sandra Meyer for $2 says, imagine Biden trying to do something like this. So true. So true. Yeah, he definitely could not handle that situation. He'd be like, because, you see, when he's going in a town hall with Don Lemon, right, he can't handle Don Lemon. He can't speak in that situation. So yeah, obviously we know Biden would never do something like that. But I think it does look good for Trump that he went in there and kind of came out the winning end. So, absolutely. Thank you for the $2, Sandra Meyer. Here we go. Burgundy Blue for $10 says, Vince, I hope your flight was good. Well, I'll talk about that in a second, if you guys care. I didn't lead the show off of it because I didn't think that many people actually cared about my own well-being here. Just kidding. But no, I'll tell you that in a second. But anyways, let me read the rest of the super chat. Hope you are enjoying your time with family. I just got back home from university today. Well, congratulations on ending your semester, buddy. And am enjoying your time with mine. Any plans for the summer? I'm going to be working and making vids. That's basically my plans for the summer too, Burgundy Blue. But okay. I guess I'll tell that story. Okay, so as you guys know, last night on the show, I said, last night, I was supposed to be flying home to LA. And basically, I was flying out of the local airport, smaller airport, because it's just easier, more convenient. And, I was supposed to get a connecting flight to a bigger airport, which was Dallas, and then, go home that way. So it was an evening flight. So my first flight out of my local airport got delayed. And so I was going to miss the second flight. You know what I'm saying, right? You missed the first flight, and then you're going to miss the connecting layover. So that happened. So you think, oh, Vince, just take the next flight out, right? The next flight out, totally booked. And then the next flight available was like the next day. I was going to have to spend the entire overnight in the airport. And I was like, okay, so can we instead maybe get out of Orlando, right? Can we just go to another airport? So I ended up going to another airport. This was the next day. Okay, so I did not sleep. 6 a.m. today, had to drive all the way to Orlando. And I kid you not, this whole trip is cursed. It really is. It's cursed. Because on the way to Orlando, which I've done that drive before. I've done that early morning drive to Orlando Airport before in the past. But on that drive today, I almost got killed twice. Okay? And neither of which are my fault. It's that other drivers were sleepy. I was sleepy too, but I tried to just consciously keep myself alive on the road. Okay? So I'm speeding to pass the semi truck here, and the semi truck just merges right into me. Okay, I'm right about to pass the semi truck. He's not even looking. I don't know what he's doing. He just merges right into my lane. Okay, luckily I was reflexive. I kind of was driving with the understanding, hey, people might do this. Literally, like, what? So I hit the brakes hard. Okay, freaking, managed to avoid that, but I almost got killed. I almost got killed by a semi truck on the way there, and then minutes later, there's an SUV also it just falling asleep, just drifting into my lane. Okay, so two times in a row, and I was by the time I was at the airport, I was praying to God. I was praying to God, Lord, please get me to LA safe at this point, okay? Because you're already, the whole trip delayed by 12 hours, have to change a whole new airport. I'm driving to the new airport in the middle of the night on no sleep, almost get killed, and the whole, and then, we're flying into, I had a layover in Miami, freaking, there's so much turbulence in the sky, and I'm like, this is it, right? This is it. This turbulence, the landing, so rough. Okay, and then the landing in LAX was also rough. But we made it. What can I say, okay? Thank you, Jesus, we are here alive. That's all I can say. It's been a ridiculous 24 hours. I'm not awake. I'm on no sleep. It's just a crazy situation, but we're here, okay? We're here, we're doing the show. I'm with you guys. All right, we love it. All right, what can we say? All right? Thank the Lord for a day of life. What can I say? It's been a terrible 24 hours, but we're here. We made it. All right. Zachary for a lot of super chats, guys. Sorry, I got to catch up here. Zachary for $5 says, I wonder why we don't have treaties up for review every decade to make sure other countries hold up to their side of the deal. Thank you for the $5, Zachary. And if we were a responsible, serious country, we would actually hold other countries to those standards. But because maybe it's to an extent, it's like the arrogance of the American empire, because we just see ourselves, we're the benevolent superpower of the world. Yeah, we never think to ourselves, maybe other countries should actually help us with defense, right? Yes, it is true. We need to stop being the world's, people say we're the world's policemen. I wouldn't call it that. We're just the world's, sugar daddy at this point. That's really what it is, right? So thank you for the $5. Burgundy Blue for $2 says, it's sad to hear you had a horrible trip. Well, we made it. Hey, Daniel McQuaid says, press X to doubt on Vince's driving problems not being his fault. It's not my fault. Dan, you're just saying, because he's Asian, he can't drive. Listen, I got a perfect score on my driving test. I was the only student in that driving school for the whole year to get a perfect score. Okay? Do not doubt. I cannot park. I can't parallel park. I'll give you that. I never actually learned how to parallel park. I mean, I kind of know how to do it, but if parallel park, it'd probably take 20 minutes. But besides that, I'm a good driver. I will not tolerate this, okay? Never been in an accident, never, perfect score on the driving test. What you know about me? Enclave Nationalist for $5 says, all right, we'll catch up here. Almost done with the super chats, guys. Says, I have a crush on this one girl at school. She's in the same grade as me, but I haven't talked to her yet. Is there any recommendations you can give me? Oh, Enclave Nationalist, you got a crush at school. Okay. The one thing I will say is do not talk to her about the things that you talk about in this chat. All right, that's word of advice number one. Word of advice number two, I would say, you have to reasonably show interest in her without being a simp. And a lot of guys make this mistake. A lot of guys, and I see this so much specifically in the right-wing sphere, with because, they'll gravitate around a girl for several months, and they think if they're just nice enough and do all her homework for her, she's gonna like you. Girls don't like that stuff. Okay? You need to be the guy who, shows her attention, but also just doesn't do everything for her, okay? And so I would say kind of try to get that dynamic going. And, I guess I'd like to know more about the situation, right? Who is this girl? Do you actually talk to her? Is it just someone you see with your eye? I probably have to know more details to give you better advice, but there's sort of general advice. Thank you for the $5, Enclave Nationalist. Daniel McQuaid for $6.99 Canadian says, Vince driving well, but he's Asian. Okay, you listen here. I cannot. Okay, listen. I'm one in a million. What can I say? Hey, by the way, I'm not full Asian, so you can't say that. You know. But thank you for the $6.99 Canadian there. All right, last super chat, and then we're gonna go on to the next stories here, and then I'll catch up later. Okay, guys. I know this super chat segment was probably longer than the show itself. But dollar for $2 says spent all week listening to every Dire Straits song, and he sends in $2. Thank you, dollar for dollar. And well, glad to hear it. Hope you enjoyed it. All right, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, sorry, very long super chat portion. We had quite a bit, so thank you for the support. God bless you guys. All right, let's get into our next story here. Again, that wraps up sort of our coverage of Trump's town hall. Not really much to say besides what we already said there. But let's move on here because we got other news of the day. New York Congressman George Santos, the legend, the man, the myth, the legend, has been arrested on 13 counts of fraud and money laundering, okay? Wrong one here. Here it is, sorry. We hate to see it, folks. Teflon George, okay? Free our boy George Santos. George Santos is the most oppressed gay black man in America, and we all know this. But the Washington Post reports that the charges include, quote, defrauding his donors, using their money for his personal benefit, and wrongly claiming unemployment benefits. So that's the charges against George Santos. Now here's my thing. Could Mr. Santos very well be guilty of this? Perhaps. He also might not be, but regardless, what I will say about this, and the reason why I'm so dismissive of the situation, is because it's obviously a witch hunt. We know this is obviously a witch hunt, and it's not that I am in favor of immorality in politics. I'm not in favor of immorality in general. What I'm tired of is the selective outrage, right? I am so tired of being lectured about morality from a political class that has none, right? So do I necessarily endorse the fact that George Santos lied his way to Congress? No, I mean, it is kind of funny. You got to admit that. It is pretty funny. It's a meme, okay? He's a meme. But still, I'm not going to listen to our political class give me a moral lecture about what? Lying on a political campaign? Hey, Nancy Pelosi is accusing George Santos of lying on a political campaign. Seriously, give me a break. And even on the front of the money laundering and fraud, we're going to be lectured about that by prosecutors who work for this administration, right? Agents of the Biden family are going to lecture us about money laundering and fraud, right? We know what Biden is up to here, and we know what he gets away with. And, even the accusations specifically regarding, quote, defrauding his donors, again, quoting from the Washington Post here, defrauding his donors, using their money for his personal benefit, and wrongly claiming unemployment benefits. You mean to tell me that the establishment politicians who are fueling the witch hunt against George Santos don't misuse donor money in shady ways all the time, okay? Look at any establishment politician. What are they spending the donor monies on? Where are they going out to eat? You'll find the exact same patterns. You'll probably find much worse patterns, to tell you the truth, right? And then on the point of wrongly claiming unemployment benefits, you mean to tell me that 50% of the Democrat constituency is not also filing fake unemployment claims? I mean, we know the type of people who vote for Democrats after all. So what it is, personally, again, I'm not saying I endorse George Santos. Again, it is funny, but I'm not saying I endorse George Santos going around and lying to everyone and whatnot. But I'm tired of being gaslit by these people, right? I'm tired of them standing up on their moral high horse and then suddenly acting like I have to care about this, right? Suddenly these people, they care about personal morality when it comes to a conservative Republican. It is pretentious. It is obnoxious. We know what the establishment gets up to, so why should I care that George Santos trolled his way to Congress in an epic meme fashion, right? Again, not going to receive moral lectures from immoral people. And that's why I refuse to throw George Santos under the bus, okay? It's not because I endorse, all the memeing, okay? But I'm not going to join in this fake moral outrage mob because I understand who is astroturfing it, right? You need to understand that. Where is this coming from? Why is this being brought up? And they do this all the time. They try to bring up people's dirty laundry to get conservatives to denounce other actual conservatives. So, you need to denounce George Santos, who's actually had a pretty solid voting record in Congress. In terms of Congress, he's actually been one of the most conservative Republicans, right? But, denounce George Santos. You need to denounce Madison Cawthorn, denounce Matt Gaetz, denounce Donald Trump, right? And they'll try to fling all this mud. Half of the time it's bogus. But, it's like, no. How about I will not do that, right? Not because I endorse every aspect of these people's personal lives, but because I'm not going to sit here and join in your moral witch hunt when we know where all of this is coming from, You people are all guilty of worse, much worse than George Santos. This is a known fact. We know this is all projection. We understand this. That's not a groundbreaking take. We all understand. It's a two-tiered system. And we know that the only reason you're airing their dirty laundry is because they're a threat or they're speaking up against you politically. We know for a fact they they have so much blackmail. The political class, DC, the amount of blackmail on all these different people that is out there, I mean, you wouldn't believe it. But we can imagine, right? We can imagine. But it's only when someone comes along and tries to speak truth to power that people will bring up, oh, well, they did this or they did that. And again, if this were a truly honest political system, maybe I would stop and say, oh, well, maybe that shouldn't. But again, why should I accept any of the moral premises of these people? Why should I be lectured by the same political class who nominated Hillary Clinton, has an actual money laundering fraudulent family in the White House right now? Give me a break, right? And so, and by the way, even on the topic of, I don't know if George Santos is guilty of this or not. It could very well come out that, it ends up being a nothing burger, which would not surprise me. But even if, let's say he was, using donor money to eat at 5-star hotels, you mean to tell me that the people bringing these charges have not done far worse with donor money, right? What have the elites done for decades? They have lied and gaslit their way to power in the name of democracy. They themselves have been the complete power-hungry sociopaths. And so, again, I'm not endorsing it, but am I particularly going to stand up here and pretend to fake this moral outrage when one conservative guy says, well, this is what they've been doing for so many decades. Why don't I use these rules to not only advance my ends, but advance conservative ends and kind of just meme this whole ridiculous and stupid political system to its extreme? And suddenly, all of these self-serious liars are like, no, the guy lied, the guy did fraud, no. It's ridiculous. So you know what? I will say it. Let me say it. On the record, I stand with George Santos, okay? Free our boy George Santos. George Santos, unironically, the most honest man in American politics, a true force of moral integrity, okay? He is. At least compared to everyone else, he is. So free our boy George Santos. He ain't do nothing. I am yet to see ample evidence that he do nothing. So, I will stick up for George Santos in this situation. He could be in the total wrong. He could. I would still look at it and say it's a selective witch hunt, and you should be frying the way bigger fish. Okay? And so this is kind of just in reality how I feel about the whole situation. Anyway, Sandra Meyer for $2 says, are you going to talk about E. Jean Carroll? Well, I guess we kind of briefly touched on it in the town hall debate thing. Which I guess, I was going to talk about it yesterday, but we did not do a live show yesterday. I think we understand the same thing. New York State, right? They took the jury. You knew that was never going to be a fair trial. And it is. It's totally bogus. And that's about all I have to say about it. It took that jury 3 hours to deliberate. 3 hours. They knew the verdict. They could have heard none of the evidence. They were already going to hear the verdict. Which has me concerned about the actual Trump indictment, right? Because if that thing is not moved to Staten Island and it keeps in Manhattan, same thing's going to happen. Now, Trump could probably win an appeal and all that stuff, but same thing's probably going to happen there. And so, we understand. Totally bogus, total witch hunt, and, that's a truth of the situation. Thank you for the $2, Sandra Meyer. I appreciate it. And listen, she named her cat after a female sexual organ. Who does that? Straight up weird. Real Texan Politics sends a member chat for 10 months. Thank you very much, Real Texan Politics. God bless you. Says, in reality, they're not after me, they're after you. I'm just in the way. George Santos. # free George Santos. He didn't do nothing wrong. So true. He was a good kid. George Santos was a good kid. He ain't do nothing, man. So true, so true. And again, guys, you want to super chat the show, you got questions or comments that you want read and answered. We got one last story here, and then I'll do Q&A. So, if you guys, again, want to send them in now while I do this segment, so that way we can get to all of them. We'll go for about 20 to 30 more minutes here on tonight's episode. Feel free to do so. It's all greatly appreciated. God bless you guys. I appreciate the support very much. And here we go. Actually, before I do that, God is Nowhere 1 says, which, by the way, wrong username. It might feel like he is nowhere. He is everywhere. Trust me on that. But says, accused of rape, taken to court, found not guilty, right? And then pay her $5 million. We live in a banana republic. Exactly. We understand this. We understand. But thank you. Thank you for the comment. All right. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, final story of the night here. Not a lot of people are talking about this. Virtually no one is talking about this. But I saw this. I saw this earlier, and I wanted to respond to it. So, Bernie Sanders the other day put out this tweet that says, it's time for us to move to a 32-hour work week with no loss in pay. So basically he's saying, the work week currently 40 hours, 5 days a week. He's saying we need to change to a 4-day work week with no loss in pay. Exact same amount of money you take home. We can reduce the stress level in our country and allow Americans to enjoy a better quality of life. So there's a take from Bernie Sanders. Now, here's my thing. Okay? Yes, on one hand, it would probably be nice if we could spend less time slaving away for corporations and spend more time with family and all that stuff. Yeah. Would everyone like a 4-day work week? Absolutely. But how is that supposed to work? How's that supposed to work? And you guys know me. Do I worship the free market like a total libertarian? No. If you can come in and reasonably convince me that doing something like regulating big tech or trying to protect industry or trying to protect families would be good for the country, for instance, I'm absolutely support it. I'm absolutely all for it. But a lot of these leftist ideas just don't make a single lick of sense. We need to forgive all student debt. How? How do you do that? Where? How does that work? You got millions of dollars in debt, you just cancel it all? What? But especially on this one, I would say this is even more ridiculous. How Bernie Sanders, can you do this? How does this work? How can you just take a day off of everyone's work week and expect nothing to change? And especially, that's the kicker, right? Expect everyone to take home the same amount of money. Because first of all, let's consider the implications of that on the consumer market, right? On the production of goods. So you think about efficiency, you think about the goods in the market, the flow of those goods, all that stuff, right? Sure, you, Jimmy, you as one person, if you take a day off of work, nobody really notices. But you understand this, I think you guys get this. When an entire nation takes one workday off, what does that do to the whole economy as a whole? What does that do to the supply chain? What does that do to the availability of goods and services? What does that do to the prices of those goods and services, right? We understand that totally would screw up the whole economy. Again, one person taking a 4-day work week, no problem. One business saying we're only going to make our employees work 4 days. Again, no problem. But again, I think we can kind of use common sense to imagine what the effects of this would be if an entire nation just decides we're going to take a whole day off of work week. Yeah. That means you're going to have empty shelves. That means you're going to have inflation. You're just going to have all sorts of problems out there, right? And that's just on the consumer side. Think about the business side. And it's just, again, I don't even necessarily worship the free market, but just the financial illiteracy of people like Bernie Sanders, where are you going to get the money for this? Where are the businesses specifically going to get the money for this, right? Because, you can say, oh, well, maybe the business can afford to pay them $1 more an hour or something. I mean, yeah, you're already putting a lot of burden just to raise the minimum wage. But at least if you raise the minimum wage, again, I don't believe that should be a blanket thing to raise the minimum wage. But still, at least if you raise the wage, at least you can still say, okay, but you're still working this amount of hour and in exchange all this stuff. Do you realize, financially how ridiculous this is? You're saying, you're telling every business out there, corporation, small business, whatever it is, hey, the current money you pay to your employees, you need to take an entire day, an entire whole workday's worth of work off of their salary and pay them the same amount. How is that supposed to? That is an insane amount of money. What business, big or small out there, has the money for that, right? Because I can tell you this, small businesses, your average mom and pop restaurant, there's no way they have the money to tell all of their waiters, hey, you know, you're going to work one less day and make the same amount of money. You just pull, where are you supposed to find the funds as a business to actually pay your workers that much? That doesn't make sense. No business has the money for this. And then you might even say, oh, well, what about the corporations? Those big and greedy corporations, Amazon, all this stuff. And yeah, you know, again, I don't worship corporations, okay? They are big and greedy. But you still need to understand, corporate profit margins are incredibly slim. They make a lot of money, right? They produce billions, trillions of dollars a year. But in percentage of their costs versus their revenues, it's a pretty slim profit margin, right? Your average corporate profit margin is probably what, like 3 to 13%, you know? And so when you compare that with how big the corporations are, that's a lot of money. But still understand, your average corporate profit margin is not that thick. It's not a huge, not like there's this huge amount of surplus of money waiting around, right? And again, you might say, but look at this $1 billion profit. Sure. But also understand, if you're, for instance, a corporation as big as Amazon, you're not just paying a few workers. You're not just giving out free money to a few workers. You're talking about thousands and thousands of workers across the country that you're all going to have to do this for. Even your big corporations out there, even your big, the 1%, even the 1%, right? Nobody's going to have the money for this. It doesn't make sense. It's a stupid idea. Like, there's no action. And again, you know, I would like to see some economists try to study if this would be possible. I did not do research. I'm just using my common sense here, okay? I'm just using a little bit of intuition from, you know, what I know basically about money and supply and demand. Anyone explain to me how that makes any sense? How are you going to take a whole day off the work week and just keep... Where are you going to get this money from? But that kind of does go to show you, like, the thought of Bernie Sanders. And, you know, as much as these people say, I relate to the common worker, and, you know, the Republicans don't know what it's like to be a common man. No, you actually don't. Because if you did, you would understand that your average mom and pop restaurant owner, they don't have the money just lying around from their, you know, business profits to just say, okay, waiters, you're going to take a whole day off and we're going to give you the same amount of money. Right? Like, if you actually understood people and how they have to manage their finances, Mr. Socialist, if you actually were able to relate to your average person, you'd understand why this idea doesn't actually make any financial sense. Which it doesn't. It's ridiculous, it's stupid, it's idiotic. But anyway, just wanted to respond to that. I saw that today from Bernie Sanders. Again, it's time for us to move to a 32-hour work week with no loss in pay. I'd like the explanation. You know, Bernie, I'd like you to explain. I'd like to actually explain how that is supposed to work. It's just a stupid idea. And again, I don't say that from the perspective of being a total, you know, FEE, Reason TV, oh, free market above all. Okay, I'm not even that, that's not even where I stand. But where I do stand is most left-wing ideas, pretty much all of them basically, on these economic issues, they just don't make any sense. And this is the prime example of it. How? Logistically, how do you make that happen? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. So anyways, guys, with that said, that wraps up our stories for tonight. It is 7:16 p.m. here. I'll do super chats for about 15 to 20 or so minutes. So if you got questions or comments that you want read and answered, reactions, thoughts on the Trump town hall, thoughts on any of the issues we talked about tonight, thoughts on Vince Dao having a very chaotic trip to Los Angeles, whatever you want, okay? Questions or comments, again, super chats are open. It is all appreciated. It's a way to support the show, obviously, and it's a way to get your question read on stream. So anyone got questions, whatever it is, let me check Streamlabs and make sure I didn't miss any there, because I haven't actually logged on. Here, hold on. Just make sure. I could pull it up. All right, it's being. I'll check in a second. Let's see if we got anything here on YouTube. Okay, I don't think we did. If you paid out, Unit 12 Kick says, if you are paid hourly, how do you make the same if you take a whole 8 hours out of your week? Exactly. But this is what, you know, your socialists or whatever, this is what they think. They think that these businesses out there just have all this money sitting around they're not giving to people, right? And like, it is true. I guess you could point, hey, so-and-so's business, they're making X amount of money as the business owner. They could take a fraction of it off. But even if you want to do that, even if you want to bully the business owners, which I don't support, but even if you were to bully them and starve them, okay, raise the wage by a couple dollars an hour, fine. I could see how you could make that work. How on earth are you supposed to make this work? It does not make a lick of sense. It does not make a lick of sense. Okay. Ivan says too much 2020 election stuff. I agree. I agree with that 100%. But you know, that's how CNN tried to muddy the waters, right? What's the first question she asked? And they spent like 15 and 20 minutes talking about it. It was 2020, election this, election that. And then right after that, it's January 6th. And then we get about 30 or so minutes of actual questions. And then it's back to what? You're being investigated. You know. But you know, it's CNN. What do you expect? But it is a shame though. If anyone genuinely undecided for 2024 who's tuning in to watch, you know, first impressions are big. First impressions are very important, right? And I'm not even saying the first half hour necessarily went badly, quote unquote, for Trump. But because of the questions that were being asked, he didn't really get a chance to actually explain or flesh out anything ideological or substantive. And because first impressions can be important, and I think CNN understood that. That's what Caitlin Collins is trying to do. She definitely did muddy the waters for Trump. But if people stuck around to watch the rest of it, I think it actually went quite well. So, Anthony says, evening, y'all, Vince. I love the new location. Well, I'm glad you like it. We vibing with the green screen, okay? You know, fancy. Look how fancy this is. You can see, actually, it's not a green screen. Don't mind this green halo around me that's fake. I'm actually doing this on a mountain in Los Angeles. Can you believe it? This is where I am right now, okay? Do you see that? That's the traffic. That's the Westin. This is like downtown LA. This is literally, we're doing the show live outdoors. You don't believe me? You know? Oh, where's the noise? I'm that good, okay? I'm the producer. I'm that good at mixing the audio, okay? It's not an optical illusion. It's not a green screen. We're really here, okay? Look at the dedication, chat. Look at the dedication to the show. I said, you know what? We can't just do a show from my bedroom or whatever in LA. We have to go on top of a mountain. We have to go on top of a mountain and do the stream. And that's what it is. That's what it is. You're like, oh no, that's a green screen. No. What are you talking? That's real. That's real. Go look right now. This is actually what's behind me. It's so true. It's so true. But in all seriousness, you know, LA, it is where, you know, it's where I grew up. It's where I'm from, obviously. Every time I come back, which I'm here only for a few days. I mean, we'll be back in Florida, normal setup next week. Although, I do kind of like the green screen. Like, obviously, it's not really done. I do like the real life setup on the mountain. Although it's not set up all the way correctly. But I feel like I'm kind of vibing with this. But anyways. Every time I get back to LA, for a few moments, I'm like, hey, this is your hometown. You know, you have a little bit of pride in it. You listen to all the songs. Every time I'm, you know, coming into LAX, okay, you listen to the same songs. I love LA, live and die in LA, California love, California dreaming, Californication, California soul, all those songs. And I'm like, you know, you're back. Right? The boy's back. And then you get into LAX, and it's just a disaster. Okay, it's probably the worst airport in the country. There's like one long terminal. You know what I mean? And so there's always a bunch of traffic. Because, you know, most airports, they like section off. Right? So if you're flying American Airlines here, you get off here. United here. LAX, I kid you not, it's one long circle. There's no like jumping off points. There's no break up of traffic. It's one long thing. And it's LA. It's a big airport. And so you get in there and you remember how crowded it is and it just sucks and everyone's rude and everything's dirty and like, okay, yeah, now I remember why I left this place. And so it's the same cycle every time I get back to LA. First 5 minutes, I'm like, you're home. Hometown, let's go. Live and die in LA. And then you just see LAX and then it's just back to square one. It's terrible. Terrible. Dirty Mike says, did you get my super chat, Vince? Did you send it on Streamlabs? I'm trying to get into Streamlabs. Give me a second here. Let me just log. I'm sorry. I'm on like desktop, so it's all obviously it's all different here. Not desktop, laptop. So let me get Streamlabs actually set up. I don't think Joanna's able to read them. I don't think I set that up in time tonight, guys. I'm sorry. She did not come with me. Not come with me here. see. Dirty Mike, I don't think I did get your... Yeah, here. I'm not seeing it in the recent... Did you send it on Streamlabs or did you send it? Actually, I don't see anything for today. Oh, wait, no. Wait. I don't know. Dirty Mike, I'm not seeing it. Did you send it on YouTube? Did I miss something on YouTube or is it a Streamlabs thing? I don't know. It's not refreshing right now. I don't know what's going on. No, on YouTube. Okay. Oh, so at least it was on YouTube. Let me see. I missed something. I see Sandra Meyer. I see Dollar for Dollar. I don't see your super chat, Dirty Mike. I don't see your super chat. Sandra Meyer says, what about Mr. Miyagi? Well, maybe we got to do that, okay? Totally forgot about that. All right. New incentive, okay? We're bringing it back. The rest of the super chats that are read tonight will be read in the Mr. Miyagi voice. Aye! We read rest of chat tonight in Miyagi voice. Okay? So you send. You send. So true. So true. Carrie says, I actually wanted to visit LA, but I guess I won't. I mean, you might... I'm not saying don't visit LA, you know. I mean, there's still some things, I guess, as a tourist that are worth seeing. I've been here my whole life, so I don't understand the city like a tourist understands it. I just understand, okay, stick to this suburb and, you know, go outside. You're going to get killed by a homeless person. So just, but, you know, I don't know. You might still have an enjoyable experience. Actually, that's the other thing, though, is, you know, I got off the plane and I kid you not, I don't think I've seen people, more than like one random person on very rare occasion. I haven't seen people wearing a mask in just the United States all year long. And you get off in LAX, and that's the other thing that just immediately like made me roll my eyes. Probably a good 35% of people in LAX are wearing masks, which you might say, oh, it's California. What do you expect, Vince? I understand that, but it's 2023, you know? Like, I was of the belief that even in liberal America, they took a lot longer than us. But I was in the belief at least they kind of eventually got over it. No, I get off LAX. These people are still wearing masks. They're still wearing masks. It's insane. It's ridiculous, you know? And it's so... It's hard to see your hometown as a cool place when everyone is just wearing their... Abby says, watch out for the homeless in LA. Well, listen, I grew up here. I know. I know how it goes. I know how it goes. But Daniel McQuaid for 279 Canadian says, I want Trump to lay siege to Canada in Minecraft. Thank you for the 279 Canadian. It is true. I know all of our Canadian viewers, they say it all the time. Vince, can you just liberate Canada? And I'm like, you know, that's a lot of work though, right? Is it worth it? How many natural resources does Canada have? I guess they have oil. That is true, right? That needs to be the new neoconservative, neoliberal dichotomy. It's like, oh, invade the Middle East for oil. We need to get oil from the Middle East. Okay, but we could also claim, hey, Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau has WMDs. We gotta go in there. We gotta go into Quebec and take the oil. Okay? We take the oil. So this needs to be done. Oh, sorry, I forgot to read in the Mr. Miyagi voice. That's my bad. Okay, not my bad. Daniel McQuaid for 279 Canadian say, I want Trump to lay siege to Canada in Minecraft. Daniel-san. What is Minecraft? I only know wax on, wax off, paint the fence. Ow. Paint the... Okay. I know no Minecraft. Okay, what Minecraft? I know... Craft defense, okay? Craft defense. Craft the floor, sand the floor. Wax the car. Wax on, wax off. I know Minecraft, it's still silly game. This is true, Daniel McQuaid. It's so true. All right, now another super chat here. Real Texan politic for $5 say, most people wear masks nowadays will probably be wearing them for the rest of life. Real Texans are no good. No good. It is true, though, too. It is true. Because, yeah, you're right about that. When are they ever going to relinquish it? Probably not. And I think there's a sense to which, you know, deep down, your average mask wearer, they're insecure. Whether it's that they're insecure that they're ugly, which in many cases is kind of the case, or just, I don't know, they just generally want to hide themselves, not be seen by the rest of the outside world. It is true, right? And wearing a mask kind of is a way to shield yourself from it. And so I think definitely it's become this social thing. At this point, they probably like doing it. They probably think they look better in it. And so, yeah, absolutely. I think your mask wearers are going to wear it for the rest of time. And, you know, what I will also say is that, what was I going to say? I totally forgot. I had a hiccup and I totally forgot. It'll come back to me in a second. Dirty Mike for $2 say, what girlfriend think of your plan to grow beard? Thank you for the $2, Dirty Mike. Yes, I know. He keeps saying every single time, you need to grow the beard. You need to grow the beard. So I don't have a girlfriend, so I cannot get the input there. But, you know, I don't know. I've actually really not gotten any female input. I really haven't. I know back in the day, my mom, when I was growing out facial hair because I just was being lazy and not shaving, she was like, you can't do that. This was actually a proverb of my mom that I still remember to this day, which is that Asian men don't grow our hair correctly. It looks weird. And I looked at myself carefully in the mirror, which actually I haven't shaved, so you can see a little stubble. You know, I was like, I kind of agree with that. Besides that, I don't know. My ex-girlfriend from like a year ago, she actually liked it when I grew out my facial hair, but also she was my ex. So maybe there's a reason that didn't work out there. So, who knows? Burgundy Blue for $5. Say, Inside Vince. Thank you for Super Chat. Thank you for the Super Chat, by the way. Oop. What's going on? It says chat disconnected. Are we good? Let me check. Did the stream go down? Uh-oh. Are we good? Is it on? Let me see. Are we on? Okay, I think we're good. I'm not seeing any indication that we're not. I don't see the chat being like FF. It disconnected here on OBS. Are we alive? Okay, we're back. We're back. Okay. All right, here we go. Okay, all right, we're good. Sorry, I don't know, it just disconnected on OBS. I guess the stream has been up this whole time. No, but see, the fundamental reason why I don't want to grow a beard and I can't grow a beard, besides the fact that it'll look weird and stupid, which it does, because I just look like Confucius, I just look like Mr. Miyagi. The biggest reason is that when I do not shave, I don't get stuff done. I'm less productive. That's the biggest problem. Because the periods in my life where I've not shaved have been the periods where I'm just lazy. I'm not doing anything. I just sit at home. And, you know, summer break, you just sit at home. You don't do anything, right? The beard grows long. It gets all, like, messy feeling and just, you know, itchy and all that stuff. And so psychologically, it's something that's kind of connotated in my brain with not being productive, with not getting stuff done. And so most of the time, I mean, I'll go a day without shaving here and there, which, as you can kind of see, but the problem is that when I don't shave and it starts getting really long, I just subconsciously become lazy because it's like a psychological trigger in my brain, if that makes sense. And you know, everyone has those, right? Everyone has certain things they need to do to be efficient, like it's part of their routine. They don't do it. They don't have their coffee, whatever. Part of that for me is shaving, right? Because psychologically too, the points in my life where I've always shaved before I start doing it on a regular basis because I do the content. Before that, when I shaved, it was always like for special purposes. Like if I had to be on camera for some reason, public event, special event, date, whatever it is, I've always shaved, right? And so that's kind of the psychological thing is if I'm doing something serious, if I'm taking myself seriously, if I'm leaving the house, whatever it is, I shave, right? I shave it off. And so the problem is like in my head, that's kind of what shaving means to me now. It's a psychological thing. And I've just noticed that when I don't shave, I'm just not productive, right? When I feel that weight of the hair, I just don't work as fast. I don't know what it is. So like I've said in the past, if there were some grand incentive, 1 million subscribers, yeah, I'll grow up the beard. But you know, Dirty Mike, he asks this question every single night. I'm telling you, know, it's gonna take a lot. It's gonna take a lot to convince me. You know, I'm like Donald Trump. Donald Trump likes clean shaven face. I do too. I think there's a lot of guys out there that look good with beards. Not me. I'm just not one of them. But anyways, Burgundy Blue for $5 say, Inside Vince live two spirit. One is overachieving, hardworking Asian. Other is Italian uncle. The other is an Italian uncle from Staten Island who's racist to the Asian side. Yeah, that's what the libs always say to me, right? I'm racist towards myself, self-hating Asian, all this stuff. But you know, I do like to think it is true. I think that not in that sense. I don't mean that is true. Okay, it's context. I just mean that I do feel like I have my Asian side in me and my Italian side, right? I think my Asian side is just like the big brain, like analytical side. You know, everything's always like facts and logic, blah blah blah. You know, robotic, get stuff done. But I think my expressiveness, you know, my energy, my personality, you know, it's very Italian in nature, and so I think it is kind of true, right? And this was even the case in school, because I was the only Asian kid I ever knew of that was good at both English and math, right? All the other Asian kids just as good as me in math, but I don't know, there's something about us Asians, like we're not good at the creative stuff. We're not good at the humanities. We don't take interest in it. But I always did. Like from a young age, I was always into history. I was always, well, why? Why? It's that other side. It's that other side, okay? The side that has, you know, Greco-Roman philosophers and Renaissance people and all that stuff. That's what it is. That's what it is. Burgundy Blue for $2 says, wait, was my super chat deleted? Wait, was my super chat delete? No, it was not deleted. It did not get waxed on, waxed off. I don't think. I see it here. So you're good. You're good. All right, let's see. We got some people giving feedback on the town hall. Bro, Trump absolutely killed it tonight on stage. Even handpicked the CNN attendants. Couldn't help but break character and die laughing. Oh yeah, no, that's true. And that was a very bad look for CNN, was the fact that the crowd the entire time was on Trump's side, and there were points in which they were kind of, I don't know if I heard booing, but definitely kind of verbally jousting, kind of groaning at Caitlin Collins. So absolutely, yeah. And you know, the psychological impact of a crowd being on one side, because naturally a lot of human beings follow crowds, can't be understated. So, you know, this is absolutely true. This is absolutely the case. And honestly, I wish we could have seen it live. I wish we could have reacted to it live on stream. I wasn't sure because I didn't know how the DMCA was going to work, copyright, right? Like when we stream a Trump speech or something, it's always pretty easy because it's a public domain, you know, everyone's doing it. I didn't know about this because it was CNN, it wasn't on YouTube, it was like exclusive to their network, so I didn't want to take the chance. But, you know, hopefully, I'm going to do some research. Hopefully when the debates come around, I'm going to try to research if we can just stream it, even though it's a network owned. I don't know. I don't want to get the channel destroyed from DMCA, right? That would totally negate any gain we get from actually watching the show and stuff. So, anyways, thank you very much. Abby Zhang for $50. She sent $50. Oh my goodness. $50. Thank you. God bless you. Says, I hope your visit went well. Glad you made it there safely. Thank you for doing the stream. Thank you for the $50, Abby Zhang. Big donation. I appreciate it very much. God bless you. And you know, that makes the day, it makes this whole ordeal today a little bit better. Okay? You know what? Didn't even, honestly, to tell you the truth, I didn't really want to do the stream today. I'm quite tired. But we had fun. And then Abby was like, $50! You have $50! And then, you know, here we are, okay? Yes, we made it safe. Barely, okay? Barely made it here safe, but we made it. Now let's just hope we make it back safe, right? But it is true. Thank you, Abby, for the $50! Thank you very much. Yvonne the First says, I missed the J6 2020 questions, but the audience questions were pretty good. No, absolutely. Yeah, I think when you actually break down, like I said, and I think most of us would acknowledge this, Trump's speeches are not what they used to be. They're just not. It's kind of sad, but it is what it is, right? He's older, lower energy, all that stuff. But I think the dynamic of Trump answering questions, whether that's from angry liberals or from his supporters, I think it humanizes him a little bit. I think he does a good job at it. And I see him in the interviews and stuff. He's still very sharp. I think that needs to be kind of his chief publicity angle, right? Is these type of interview or Q&A type of environments. I think he does very good in it. And, you know, I think he should do it more often. Absolutely. Okay, this guy who has a Vietnamese name says, hi, I'm Asian too. I have a question. Well, you have a Vietnamese question, clearly. Do you feel a connection to your Asian side, like you learn mother language or visit your home country? I would say I'm probably more assimilated than a lot of your average Vietnamese kids. So growing up, I was actually fluent in Vietnamese, and all that stuff. And you could so basically what happened is I went to preschool, and I don't know. There's just inherently always been this Americanness in me. I don't know what it is. I went to preschool and I saw everyone was speaking English, and I was like, well, everyone else is speaking English, then shouldn't I learn how to speak English? And so ever since then, I was just like, I'm only speaking English. And I actually forgot my fluency in Vietnamese. I lost it. And, so I would argue, yeah, I'm pretty like assimilated for an Asian person in America. Kind of lost that quote unquote connection. So I feel a strong connection to my family's personal heritage, right? But in terms of like home country, mother language, I wouldn't say I'm really like that kind of person. There are a lot of Asians in America that are like that, but I don't know, from a very young age, you could argue was going to school, whatever it was, I kind of have been assimilated, you could argue. Enclave Nationalist for $5, thank you very much, says, after you're done with your main show, can you please watch 18 minutes of AVGN prank phone calls? It's one of the funniest things I've seen recently. Thank you for the $5, Enclave Nationalist. Anytime you suggest me to watch anything, Enclave Nationalist, I am suspicious, but I will write that down, okay? AVGN prank phone calls. Maybe on a future members block or something, we could go and check that out. So, absolutely. Thank you for the $5, Enclave Nationalist. Man, I'm starting to get a runny nose here. Not because I'm sick, because it is dusty in here. Okay, Vince, why don't you dust off the room? I just got here. I've been in California for a few hours, but it's almost depressing. This is where we used to do, this is where I started. This green screen behind me, this wall right here, this exact wall. This is where I started doing the political stuff, okay? And my first ever video was a white wall, which actually, as a matter of fact, that should be a members only special, since we're here, is reacting to old videos. But still, this was the first wall we did it behind. But, there's carpet and stuff. And it's so dusty in here. It is unbelievably dusty. If you wonder why at the beginning of the stream I was all, now I'm starting to be like, that's the reason why. We gotta dust off in here. But it's sad. You come back here, your old setup, everything's still here. But everything's collected dust. Okay? They say Vince has lost his way. They say, I miss the old Vince Dao, okay? Straight from the gold Vince Dao. I hate the new Vince Dao. Always talking about the news Vince Dao. It's so true. It's so true. It is dusty in here. But anyways, all right. Last call for Super Chats. I'll go for 5 more minutes, okay? So last call for Super Chats. Anything you want to send in, questions or comments, send them in now. We're closing out the bar. Close out your tabs now. And if not, I'll just wrap up the stream here again. 5 minutes. 4 minutes. 4 minutes here. Okay. Burgundy Blue for $5. Thank you very much. Says, during that monologue about Asians being robots, Vince's Italian side took control. Went full, hey. Not reading the rest of that. Hey, that's not, I'm just observing what I see in us, right? And even myself. I've kind of trained it in myself to be a little bit better, but I don't know. In terms of creativity and like innovativeness, I've noticed that us Asians are just not the best at it, right? But we are very good at replicating and learning processes, right? That's why we're really good at math, but why you don't see a lot of inventions out of Asia. But you see a lot of stuff, right? But and you see this master stuff, but innovativeness. I don't know what it is, but Asians, we don't have that side to us. It is true. It is, and that's what I was pointing out. Burgundy Blue for $2 says, wait, what do you mean green screen? Oh, sorry, I forgot. Sorry. No, disregard. I got confused. I'm Sleepy Joe. I'm like Sleepy Joe. I have a little bit of dementia going on here. At 20 years old, already have dementia. You know how it goes, right? We've all been there. I forgot. I thought I was behind my old wall from my parents' house. No, this is actually the real. I'm actually outside right now. Overlooking the 405 and stuff in downtown LA. This is real. This is not a green screen. You're like, Vince, what is this little green? That's the lighting. Okay, shh. It is what it is. Vince, well, how come we don't hear the outside noises? Because I'm that good. I'm the expert producer. I'm not good at mixing the sound. Okay. So sorry to clear that up. Yes, this is the I'm in LA. This is real. This is 405 right here. I'm sitting on a mountain right now. You know, the things I go to, the lengths I go to do the show. Okay, it's so true. Listen, it's nighttime. I could get attacked by a coyote. I could get attacked by a mountain lion. I could get attacked by a Democrat voter. You know how it goes, LA, right? There's black bears. I'm sitting here on the mountain, alone, in the cold and wind, to do the show. They can't. Look at this level of dedication. I don't even have a permit to be here, okay? They were like, Vince, how are you even getting reception? You're on a mountain. You're on a random mountain overlooking downtown LA. How does this even work? Hey, you know? When you're Vince Dao, you just make things happen. What can I say? Oh, that's a green screen. Green screen. I don't know what that is. You guys see me, look, you guys see me with technology. I can never make anything work on the stream. You think I would ever figure out how to make a green screen work? Absolutely not. So I will not buy such conspiracy theories, okay? The truth is, that right there, that's the real LA. I'm right here. I'm on a mountain. That's the 405. That's the iconic West End. I mean, some of you guys kind of might recognize the skyline and stuff. We're here. Abby says LA has a mountain. Oh, LA has a lot of mountains. California has a ton of mountains. All the hate we give to California, it is honestly still, well, geographically, it's probably one of the most beautiful states in the country. That's what most people say. Now, I don't really view it like that, but I grew up here, so I'm so used to it. You know, it's kind of boring and bland. But most out-of-staters, everyone comes to California and says it's so beautiful here, just visually. And then you look around and what's happened to it, obviously, there's all these problems. But this place used to be paradise, right? I would argue, actually, this place used to be what Florida is to people now. Because what is Florida? Republican state, conservative politics, you know, clean, relatively low cost of living, relatively, not in the lowest ever, but relatively, right? A lot of opportunity, a lot of people moving there, beaches, sunshine, lifestyle, all that stuff. I mean, that's what California was in the 1950s. Back then, Florida was just a swamp, right? It was a rural, poor southern state. California once served the role in this country that Florida was, right? That idea of paradise, that place everyone wanted to be. And then, it starting in about the 80s, I would say, the decline began. They still voted for Reagan. But starting in the 80s, the decline began. And then, 1990s, you had the riots, you had the Reagan amnesty, all that stuff. It all added up. And then now it's a third world cesspool full of, it's dystopian, really. It's full of, nobody, everyone rents, right? That's the craziest thing, too. Even when I was little, this is suburban Los Angeles. It's a very suburban city. Growing up, everyone on the block, no one was renting the house. There's no renters. That was never a thing. It was all families who owned homes, right? All of us, all up of this block. It was all a bunch of family homes. And now you go around, I guess we're still here, but my parents and stuff are still here. But a lot of it's just huge. It's like three different, it's like an extended family. So it's not one nuclear family, right? It's like this person, their uncle, their cousin, all these people, and they're all renting. They're all renting one house. They're renting from some landlord. It's dystopian. It really is dystopian. It's sad. It's sad to witness. Because even when I was little, I still remember the vague, faint memory of the California of old. And really, I would argue, starting in the Trump era, I mean, don't get me wrong, the problems had been around for a while. But really, under the Trump years, that's when the homelessness started to skyrocket. Like, San Francisco has always had homeless. That city's always been a cesspool. But here in LA, we've always had Skid Row. That's been around for decades. Everyone's heard of Skid Row. But in the suburban parts, right? In the suburban parts, San Fernando, Burbank, Glendale, you never heard of homeless. I never grew up around homeless people, right? But now they're all over the place, right? It's, at least Southern California, it has actively declined in my lifetime. This place, even when I was little, sure, Democrat governors. Actually, no, when I was little, Arnold Schwarzenegger was the governor. But, yeah, it's sad. It's sad. What can I say, though? At least I don't live here. I'm not a permanent resident no more, but we're here for a few days. Okay, that's about all I can handle at this point. But anyways, all right, last super chat of the night here. Burgundy Blue for $5 says, breaking news, local YouTuber Vince Dao mugged and strangled to blank by a homeless crack addict on LA Mountain while doing a live stream in Minecraft. Okay, first of all, Burgundy Blue, all right, I will just wax on, wax off him. So you don't have to worry in Minecraft. So you don't have to worry about that. Okay, I got it covered. Okay, I got the Miyagi Do. Aye, you wax on, wax off, homeless guy. Okay. Joking, of course, in Minecraft. But you know, I am running that risk right now by being on a real mountain in LA to do the show for the scenic background purposes. I am running that risk. It is true. Dedication. What can I say? Dedicated. All right, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, that'll wrap up the show tonight. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. Hope you enjoyed tonight's. I know it was a little chaotic tonight, but I was totally off script, but I actually thought it was a decent show. So hope you guys enjoyed. I'll be honest, I don't know if we're going to do a show tomorrow. I might try to do like a late night members only stream, but tomorrow I am doing some media stuff with other right-wing content things out here in LA while we have the chance. So I don't know what time I'm going to be back. I don't know the schedule. So most likely no show tomorrow. I'll let you know. Maybe we will. I'll probably like later at night try to do a member stream. So I will try to do something. But so become a channel member to access whatever we do tomorrow. But I will most likely be able to do a show on Friday. So if I don't see you tomorrow, be sure to join us on Friday night. Most likely. No guarantees. Most likely. At 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time for the next episode of The Vince Dao Show. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. Wish me luck here in California. Wish me, being able to avoid Democrat voting homeless people. And until next time, Alpha Moves Only. Have a very good night. Signing out here from a real-life mountain off the 405 in Los Angeles, California. Good night, everyone. Have a very good night. Alpha Moves Only. God bless and peace.